Today we're looking at the Hohokam and Anasazi. Hello, welcome to the Daily Bellringer. Please don't forget to subscribe and take a look at the questions down in the description. Also, don't forget to check out dailybellringer.com for resources that go with many of the Bellringer videos. Hundreds of years before any Europeans set foot on the North American continent, there were large Native American civilizations that flourished. Two of these civilizations that grew in the western part of what is today the United States were the Hohokam and Anasazi people. Much of what we know of these civilizations is based on archaeological research, as there's little written record for historians to go off of. Archaeologists study buildings, pieces of broken pottery, human remains, and stone tools left by these early Native Americans in order to understand more about them. The people referred to as the Hohokam would not have called themselves Hohokam. That's a term given to them by modern archaeologists. The Hohokam lived in what is present-day Arizona in the Sonora Desert between 300 to 1500 AD. But there is evidence that Hohokam ancestors could have lived in the area as early as 2000 BC. By 1300, they had one of the largest populations on the North American continent, with an estimated population of 80,000 people. Living in the desert with little water, the Hohokam had to come up with innovative methods to survive. They developed and built the largest irrigation system in prehistoric North America, with over 500 miles of canals and ditches carrying water to thousands of acres of farmland. One of the canals they built was over 20 miles long. They grew a wide variety of crops from tobacco, corn, beans, cotton, and squash. The early Hohokam lived in pit houses, which were houses partially built into the ground and usually built in a circular form, but later they transitioned to living in houses fully built above the ground. Several Hohokam towns had ball courts in the middle that were used for sport, but also were used as marketplaces. The Hohokam crafted pottery and were the first to create acid-etched jewelry and shells. It is believed that between the years of 1276 to 1299 there was a major drought that led to the Hohokam eventually breaking apart and disappearing. Over the next 100 years, rainfall was unpredictable, and by 1450 the Hohokam had basically vanished. It is believed that the Pima Native American group today are direct descendants of the Hohokam. The Anasazi, or ancient Pueblo people, lived at about the same time as the Hohokam, and in a similar area. The Anasazi civilization peaked around 900 AD in the region today known as the Four Corners, where Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico all come together. The Anasazi were known for their construction of pueblos. Pueblo is the Spanish word for village. When the Spanish first explored the area of what is today the Southwestern United States, they found far more than simple, crude shelters in these pueblos. Instead, they found sophisticated stone buildings, and the Anasazi had constructed what were almost like apartment buildings today. One of the most well-known pueblos is Pueblo Bonito, located in present-day northwestern New Mexico. The semicircular village had buildings with hundreds of rooms, and some of the structures were as tall as 4 stories. The Anasazi also built structures into the sides of cliffs to protect themselves against attacks from rival tribes and protect themselves from the weather. Mesa Verde, located in southwestern Colorado, is one of the most well-known remaining cliff dwellings built by the Anasazi in America around 1200 AD, but then it was soon abandoned by around 1300 AD, and it's still unclear as to why the community abandoned the town after only 100 years. There is also archaeological evidence that the Anasazi built a network of over 400 miles of roads connecting their settlements. To add to their astounding architectural skills, the Anasazi built arenas that could hold up to 500 people. Like the Hohokam, the Anasazi worked extensively to harness water by building reservoirs and dams and irrigation systems to bring water to their crops. But also like the Hohokam, there's no clear reason as to why the Anasazi civilization declined by 1300 AD. The civilization basically disappeared, similar to the Hohokam. Again, many historians and archaeologists believe that a major drought played a large part in the civilization's demise. But the Hohokam and Anasazi had flourishing, sophisticated civilizations a full 200 years before Columbus arrived in the New World. Although both disappeared mysteriously, there are still generations of Native Americans that can trace their lineage to these early people of southwestern North America. So with that, hopefully you learned something, and thanks for watching.